All right, guys, welcome to Allies Entrepreneurs. In this section of the course, we're going to be talking about vertical integration on the startup side because there's going to be two sides of vertical integration. You can vertically integrate and do a brand new startup that's basically vertically integrated into your startup that you just started. And then there's going to be an acquisition side of a vertical integration that you're going to maybe buy and bolt on to your pre-existing business. So right now we're going to talk to you guys about vertical integration on a brand new startup. So what does that mean exactly? So I'm going to give you guys, along with Michael, a lot of examples of how we've done it in our business to help drive more revenue, reduce risks, create efficiencies. And that's really what it does. It drives more revenue and it creates efficiency in your business. Because if you're already spending money on something and you can go ahead and add that as an extra service, or maybe let's give an example of that. When I was 22 years old, I wanted to start a business, right? I started on-site oil change. Well, I'm already at a car and I'm changing oil. Why wouldn't I offer more services like shampoo, conditioner, wax, tire rotation, auto wash repair and replacement? I'm already there. I'm already at the car. So vertical integration would mean basically you're adding more verticals that are symbiotic in the same space that doesn't take any risk or any type of extra risk that you would take when you're buying a business, right? It's already there. So if I'm going to go ahead and sort of have an automobile business like I did, I ended up scaling that to 4 locations here where I live. I went and I added, instead of just doing oil changes, I added mechanic work, I added inspection stickers, I added auto glass repair and replacement, I added window tinting. And that way we're full-blown automotive. You're not just a quick lube, or you're not just a car washer. You're not just a, maybe you started an air conditioning company and all you do is maintenance and repairs. You should probably start doing change outs, but maybe your skill set's not there. But we're going to talk about how to add the skill sets, how to add those extra revenues. Michael, let's talk about, give them some information on vertical integration on the startup side before we get into the acquisition side of examples that you've done in your business before we start deep diving this material.
Yes, I mean, really, what you're looking for in any of these vertical integrations is going to be, you have with your current business, you have a captured audience currently. You're doing whatever it is you currently do for that customer already. You have a customer there that you're working on. In the realm of what you do, what else is that customer spending money on? Just like you were talking about. If he's getting an oil change, is he going to change his windshield wipers? How about his air filter? Blah, 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 on down the road. While you're changing oil, can you have somebody over there detail the car? What other forms of revenue is that same person going to take that same item and go spend money on in the next X amount of time, right? It might be 2 weeks, it might be a month, but you got to think outside the box, right? Like with a quick lube, like we just talked about, they're going to go spend money. Can you check their brakes and change their brakes? You're going to go to AutoZone and get the same parts, right? But, like with some of my stuff with the real estate stuff, startup wise, when I bought the property management company, I started up a rehab and remodel company. I ended up going and buying some other ones, but I started one just out of sheer need. I had people that I was managing their homes. The tenants would tear them up. Somebody had to fix them. I was already contracting that out. Why can I not just start a company and go ahead and fix it myself? I could give them the same rates, but I knew I could turn around the jobs faster. I knew if we were handling it, the customer was going to get better quality. They were going to get a speedier return. So it's a win-win for everyone. It doesn't cost the people I'm managing stuff for. It doesn't cost them any more money. It gives them a better product for the same price. And it allows me to make a little money too.
Yeah. I would say you want to try to become the one-stop shop in a sense.
That's correct.
The one-stop shop in the same burger. The reason I was able to scale my quick lube, car wash, mechanic shop, auto glass business and have more locations. I was 25 years old. I had 4 locations where they had guys that been in business in my town 20 years. They had 1 location. You know why? Because they did one thing. They just did oil changes. They just did mechanic work. Whereas if you came to my shop, I got you there with an oil change.
And they could get everything else solved. Their windshield wipers, they could get a detail. They could get the oil filter, not the oil filter, but the air filter. They could get anything done when they showed up at your spot versus only an oil change.
That's right. And I never understood why my
Convenience.
only did one thing. They just did one thing. I'm like, we're not splitting atoms and then flying the moon. It's the same vertical. It's automotive. So I'm giving you examples because you have to think like this in your business. How can you vertically integrate and add those? Think of it like a wheel. You got spokes on a wheel. You got the hub. The hub is, in my example of when I want to use a mechanic shop and quick loop, the hub is it's a mechanic shop. It's an automotive shop. Now, how many spokes on that wheel of revenue streams can I create off of automotive? Obviously, they're coming in for an oil change. Well, then we had a check blitz. I had them check everything. They had to check the wiper blades, check the air filter, the tires for tread to try to sell them a tire rotation or brand new tires. They checked the windshield for rock chips. They checked the inspection sticker. You see how you start thinking, if you got a check sheet like that, you're going to find something.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. And it's not about trying to, sell them a bag of goods, right? It's just about, if they're going to get it done. So if they're going to get it done anyhow, somewhere else, why not them get it done at the same place they're at? Number one, you're going to save them money and you're going to make yourself a little bit extra money too, right? But people will pay for convenience, and that's why you did so much better than, your other guys. And that's why, with a lot of stuff we got now, we do better than a lot of the other competition because people will pay for convenience. If you're a one-stop shop and they get all their stuff done, they don't have to run to 20 different places. The problem is when people go to get that oil change done or tire rotation done or any of that stuff, they're having to take off work. They're having to take time out of their day. They're having to take time away from their kids. They're having to take time away from whatever it is they enjoy doing. I mean, going to get an oil change is like going to the dentist. Nobody wants to go do it, but you just got to do it, right? If I can get all that stuff knocked out at one whack, the value is there. I don't want to drive across town and have to go get something else done or over here to get another thing done. If I can do it all right here, even if it costs 10 extra dollars, it's a home run for me because I don't have to run around in circles.
Yeah.
98% of the U.S. thinks that same way.
Well, you said something really pertinent. You said people will pay for convenience.
Absolutely, they will.
Well, you said something earlier. You said, well, we're not trying to sell them nothing. All we're doing is making their life more convenient because if you don't catch that, they're going to have to go get the rock chip and windshield replaced over another place when they could have got it done at your place.
Right.
So what's some more examples of this? Because I want to use other examples of my business. So, in my real estate company, we do a ton of trailers, right? I own 19 mobile home parks. I do a lot of land home packages where we buy land and bring double wides and you drop them. So I already own mobile home parks. So what would be something that's vertically integrated that just gives me more verticals and makes everything more efficient and drives revenue? You got to think of it like an assembly line, right? You're keeping everything in-house of all the products and services. Let's just call it mobile homes, right? And mobile home parks. What's the assembly line of mobile home parks and land home packages that I'm flipping? Well, I need land. So what do? I start a text blasting service to try to get more leads. I get my dealership license so I can buy my own trailers. So what am I doing? You're essentially taking out the middleman. I get my dealership license. I start selling trailers to myself at wholesale prices. Then I start selling trailers at wholesale prices to my following to try to make more money through my following. And that way I'm giving them prices at wholesale prices. See how this is all vertically integrated. If I need a trailer for my mobile home parks, when it goes down, I just order through my own dealership. That's vertical integration in the same space with no risk.
And not only you got to think about this, once they bring that trailer out, you got to have somebody to set it up. You got to, after they get it set up, you got to have somebody to plumb it in. You could buy a plumbing company. You got to have somebody to hook up the heat and air. You got a heat and air company. I've bought all these companies just for the same reason, when we bring and drop a trailer, I mean, normally from the dealership or any of that stuff, if they've got to go subcontract it out, you're looking at a 2-month turnaround. I can do that same job from when they set it down to when we leave the job, brick underpinning and all. I can do it all in less than 3 weeks. You know, it, and I'm no more expensive. I'm probably cheaper than some of those other guys, but they're taking 2 months, 3 months to do it. I'm doing that same job in 3 weeks. I'm doing 4 jobs as they're one. I can be a little bit cheaper and still make way more money just because I'm super vertically integrated. I own the whole food chain.
Yeah. And you're not able to do that at once, guys, but you start off with the main thing, you make the main thing, you master that main thing, and you see where you're spending the most money, and you see where you can get more efficient and add more services that is not risky. Because the name of the game of business is to cut out the rich, right? We're not here to take a ton of risks. How you got to figure out how can you cheat legally, morally, and ethically. And I live and die by that ethos. And in every business that I start, because look, I like startups. A lot of people say don't do startups because it's so risky. But there's a very practical way that you can do startups that takes out all the risk because there's revenue already there to capture. And you just have to be smart enough in your business to see and have enough awareness. And that's why we're giving you examples of what we're doing in our business. So you can have those aha moments. Okay, man, I could add this revenue stream. I could add that revenue stream of what I'm already doing. So think with that when you've got your startup going, you're making money with your main thing, add more services. Essentially, you're just diversifying inside the same vertical.
Let me give you a great example of what I do to be able to pick those vertically integrated businesses out. I'm going to go look at my profit and loss and all my stuff every 12 to 18 months. And I'm going to see what company I'm spending the most money with in, let's say it's the septic or the plumbing or the heating and air, or what section of whatever it is I'm doing am I spending the most money? And I'm going to go buy a company in there. I like to buy the guys that I'm dealing with because I already know, I'm spending a bunch of money with them. I already know I get along good with them. And I know their work ethic. If they won't sell, I'm going to go look for other guys in that realm. But go look at what you're spending money on. That's the best way to vertically integrate. Find the line item that you're spending the most money on and go buy there. Because a lot of times, before I bought the plumbing company, I was having to deal with 3 or 4 different plumbers because, where I'm at, it was 2-week lead time. If you had a problem, see you in 2 weeks.